I had a baby 8 weeks ago. My toddler is only 1.5 years old, so 2 under 2. I took 3 months unpaid maternity leave, had to save up during the pregnancy to afford it. My husband didn't get any leave and had to keep working. He works from home. During these 8 weeks, my husband has gone out to a couple of dinners, a late meeting, neighborhood committee, a wedding, that I had to tag along to, unwillingly, at only 6 weeks after a C-section, to make him happy. Late drinks following one of the dinners, he came home at 4:30 a.m. last week and is scheduled to go on a bachelor trip later on. That was supposed to be a weekend in New Orleans and is now a 4-day international trip to Jamaica. He also told me about having 3 couples over to our house, which then turned, without my previous knowledge, into a 42-person get-together. Yes, you read that number right. And he's telling me he can't end that event at 7 so we can put the kids to bed because he can't ask people to leave. So he has not been deprived socially in any way. Now he's saying he wants to go to a double birthday party in NYC this Friday, which will naturally mean a late night. I'm arguing that, as a father of 2 very young kids in the trenches of postpartum, he should be sitting out of some of these events to stay home and help me at night. Our nanny is off the clock at 7 p.m., 5 p.m. on Fridays. So it's at night that I need him the most, he argues that one. He's home all day instead of going out to the office and having drinks after and to. He's able to wake up early after a late night to help with the kids. However, 1, it's not my fault his job is from home, and I tell him he wouldn't get to be out for drinks every night if he has a baby at home that needs him, and 2, while he does wake up at 7 a.m. after a late night, he then proceeds to be in a sour mood about how exhausted he is, and I end up picking up all the slack for the next couple of nights to help him recover. So it all falls back on me anyway. Of note, while I am on maternity leave now, I'm with the kids all day along with the nanny, so I'm not sitting around doing nothing. I also have a mental illness that requires me to prioritize my sleep, particularly in the postpartum period, which I have been completely putting aside in order to favor my husband getting good sleep because he's working. Also, he gets reasonable chunks of break time throughout the day, so he is not working non-stop by any means. Am I being unreasonable? Isn't it fair that, as a father, he gives up some of these social events while his baby is a newborn? Should I just suck it up and let him be out and about for as many late nights as he wants? Edited to add, 1. I am the breadwinner. I make more than triple what my husband makes, so I am not a gold digger. 2. Because I work, I hired a nanny. I simply didn't want to fire her just for 3 months of leave and lose her, so I saved up during pregnancy to be able to keep her. Working people need childcare, simple as that. 3. My husband isn't a terrible person or I wouldn't have married him. When he's home, he's absolutely a dad to his kids, especially on weekends when he's off work. It's this one issue about the crazy amount of social events during this period that I'm having a problem with. 4. We did get tons of women's opinions in a Facebook group, so then my husband asked if we could also get men's. 5. I didn't know this would be a problem before kids or even after the first kid, because this all began after my husband went back to school for his master's and met all these friends that he now believes it's crucial he network with. They're not coworkers. 6. We are not relying on Reddit to fix our marriage. We have recently started marriage counseling. We were simply curious what everyone else, unbiased third parties, thought because we both believe we are right. Update. He agrees he's in the wrong and says he feels terrible that he's been so inconsiderate. He says he knew it after the women commented, but just wanted to hear what men had to say too. He says he will cool it with the events and continue to work on this in therapy. He should have seen my point just because I made it, but we're both super opinionated. So I guess he was being either stubborn or simply delusional. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, I'm a father of 3 and will be less kind here. Jesus flipping Christ. He needs to grow up and be a husband and father before he's a friend and partier. Help his wife and children first and foremost. When they are 100% covered and all is well, then and only then should he consider going out. Doesn't have to be forever, but he couldn't suck it up for even a few months. He is an absolute jerk and selfish as they come. What a low-life jerk. ETA, if you were my daughter, I'd be moving you back to my house to show him what a real father is. He does not deserve a wife and kids right now. Oh, and not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but your husband is. As a bloke, I can safely say that your husband is a selfish git. He's not even acting as a father, he's just the partner of a mother. Parenthood is meant to be a joint venture, including the sacrifices, but he somehow managed to miss that memo. Sit him down and tell him straight to buckle the hell up and pull his weight. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a month since I last shared my story, and a lot has happened since then. After my husband agreed to cool it with the social events, things seemed to be improving for a while. He started coming home earlier and spending more time with the kids and me. We even managed to have a few date nights, which was a nice change of pace. However, about 2 weeks ago, my husband's old college roommate came to town unexpectedly. They hadn't seen each other in years, and my husband was excited to catch up with him. I understood his enthusiasm, but I couldn't help feeling a bit uneasy about the situation. One evening, my husband went out with his friend for drinks. I tried not to worry, but as the hours ticked by, I grew increasingly anxious. It was nearly 2 a.m. when he finally stumbled through the door, clearly intoxicated. I was furious and hurt, especially since he had promised to be home by midnight. The next morning, we had a heated argument. I expressed my disappointment and frustration, reminding him of his commitment to prioritize our family. He apologized profusely, but I could sense that he was still struggling with the idea of missing out on social opportunities. As the days went by, I noticed that my husband was becoming more distant and irritable. He would often snap at me over minor things and seemed less engaged with the kids. I tried to talk to him about it, but he would brush me off, saying he was just stressed from work. One afternoon, while I was putting the baby down for a nap, I overheard my husband on the phone with his friend. He was complaining about feeling trapped and suffocated by our family life. My heart sank as I listened to him express his desire for more freedom and independence. Later that evening, I confronted him about what I had heard. At first, he tried to deny it, but eventually he broke down and admitted that he had been feeling overwhelmed and resentful. He confessed that he sometimes wished he could go back to his carefree days before we had kids. His words stung, but they also forced us to have an honest conversation about our relationship and our individual needs. We talked about how we had both been neglecting our own well-being and how we needed to find a better balance between our roles as parents and partners. As we delved deeper into our discussion, my husband revealed that his desire to attend social events stemmed from a fear of losing his identity outside of our family. He had always been an outgoing and social person, and he worried that becoming a father meant giving up that part of himself. I listened carefully and tried to empathize with his perspective. I shared my own struggles with adjusting to motherhood and how I sometimes felt like I had lost touch with my own interests and passions. We both realized that we needed to make more of an effort to support each other's individual needs and goals. Over the past few weeks, we've been working on finding that balance. We've started taking turns watching the kids so that we can each have some alone time to pursue our own interests. We've also been more intentional about scheduling date nights and family outings to ensure that we're nurturing our relationship and creating happy memories together. It hasn't been easy, and there have been moments of tension and frustration along the way. But I'm hopeful that we're moving in the right direction and that we'll continue to grow stronger as a couple and as a family. Thanks for reading and for all of your support and advice. It means a lot to know that we're not alone in navigating these challenges. My coworker tried to get me fired by falsely accusing me of harassment, so I recorded her admitting the truth and watched her get escorted out by security. Disclaimer: this is not one of those anti-dating single moms posts. I'm a single dad and have dated other single parents in the past. I have a coworker, let's call her Pam, whom I've worked with for a couple of years now, and she's a lovely woman. She's very pretty, good at her job, and I value her as both a coworker and a friend. She got divorced about a year ago and has started getting back into dating in the last few months. Nothing serious, though. I'm widowed and have a 7-year-old. I'm definitely not opposed to dating another single parent, as I have before. The problem is, her kid is honestly unbearable to me. It's hard to say how much of it is his fault, as he does have oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, and I suspect some other things as well. He's 13 years old, but regularly throws tantrums you'd expect of a much younger child. He's been suspended from school multiple times, and she's had to have him come into work with her to keep an eye on him, and he always gets into trouble here as well. As far as non-predators go, he's the worst kid I've ever been around. About a month ago, we were at a work function, and dating came up. She asked me if I was seeing anybody. I told her no, and she brought up us going out as we get along so well. I gave her the whole, we work together and I don't shoot where I eat thing, and she let it go but mentioned how a lot of our co-workers met at work and it worked out for them. For what it's worth, we are in different departments and work on different floors, so while I see her at work a decent amount, it's not really a working together and seeing each other every day thing. The last week, the weather has been beautiful, and yesterday management let us all off an hour early to enjoy the weather, and a lot of us went to the place next door. She brought us up again, and again I gave her the same thing. She then pushed and said she doesn't believe me. She asked if I don't like to date other parents, and I told her no, it's not that. She kept pushing, and I was honest that her kid is just too much. Not that I don't think I could handle a tough kid, but I just have no desire to put up with that for a kid who's not mine. From what little I know about ODD, it doesn't seem like a phase, and I'm not signing me and my kid up to deal with that long term. Let's just say she did not take it well and snapped at me about talking about her kid and left shortly after. Today, I'm working from home, but feeling a little guilty about it all. Was I an AH who should apologize or just let it go? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You initially declined politely, showing you tried to keep the peace. It's telling of her character that she didn't accept your no and forced you to spell it out. While bringing up her child wasn't ideal, it seems more about explaining your perspective than attacking her parenting. Boundaries, especially with coworkers, are healthy and should be respected. It's okay to say no without further justification. You're entitled to choices best for you and your family. Everyone has their struggles, and moving forward, you can learn to disengage after saying no. Your boundaries are yours to enforce, and sticking to them can prevent similar situations. Good luck with future work relationships. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You know, if a man doesn't take a polite no for an answer when he asks a woman out, he's a creep. It's no different when it's a woman not taking no for an answer. While she never should have pushed, you were just honest about not wanting to deal with her son. You weren't nasty about it. You, as a human being, have the right to say, "This is not something I want." It's that simple. It's better than the ones that date a parent, then try to get rid of the kid. Now for the update, hey there, thanks for reading. It's been a week since my last post, and a lot has happened. After the incident at the bar, things got pretty awkward at work between Pam and me. We tried to keep it professional, but there was definitely some tension in the air. A couple of days later, Pam came up to my desk and asked if we could talk in private. We found an empty conference room, and she apologized for pushing me about dating and for her reaction when I mentioned her son. She said she knew he was a handful and that she was working on getting him more help. I appreciated her apology and told her I was sorry too for being so blunt about her kid. We had a good talk and cleared the air, but then things took a turn. Pam confessed that she'd had feelings for me for a while, and that's why she'd been so persistent about us dating. I was caught off guard and didn't really know how to respond. I told her I cared about her as a friend and colleague, but didn't feel the same way. Pam got quiet and then said she needed some time to process everything. Over the next few days, she avoided me at work, and when we did interact, she was cold and distant. I felt bad for hurting her feelings, but also knew I had to be honest about my own. Then, yesterday, I got called into my boss's office. Apparently, Pam had filed a complaint against me, claiming I'd been harassing her and creating a hostile work environment. I was shocked and tried to explain the situation, but my boss said he had to take the complaint seriously and that there would be an investigation. I left work feeling blindsided and betrayed. I thought Pam and I had a good friendship, and I never imagined she'd do something like this. I'm worried about my job and my reputation, and I don't know how to fix this mess. Looking back, I realize I may have missed some signs that Pam's feelings for me were stronger than I thought. There were times she'd find excuses to come by my desk or bring me coffee, and she always seemed eager to chat and joke around. I just chalked it up to us being work friends, but maybe I should have picked up on the hints. I also can't help but wonder if my comments about her son played a bigger role in all this than I realized. I know she's sensitive about his issues, and maybe she felt like I was judging her or looking down on her as a parent. I never meant to make her feel that way, but I can see how my words could have stung. Now I'm left trying to figure out my next steps. I'm going to cooperate with the investigation and hope that the truth comes out. But I know these situations can get messy fast. I'm also worried about how this will affect my relationship with my own kid. I don't want him to see his dad getting caught up in drama at work or losing his job over a misunderstanding. Anyway, that's where things stand now. It's been a rough week, and I have a feeling it's only going to get tougher. Thanks for letting me vent and for any support or advice you can offer. I'll try to update again soon. My husband let a stranger insult me on our 9th anniversary. So I made him learn respect, and now he's the one begging for my support. So I am 30-year-old male, male 30, and my wife is 29-year-old female, 29F. We celebrated our 9th anniversary by going out overnight for the first time since we had children 8 years ago. It was a really big deal to stay at a hotel away from our children. Grandparents were watching them. We live in the country and have not really been to the big city a lot, so we are not used to how things work down there. We were walking around, seeing all the different sights and doing tourist things when we decided to try to rent those electric scooters that you see on all the street corners. I set mine up on my phone and it worked fine. However, my wife could not figure it out, so we switched scooters and phones. She was using my original scooter and using my phone, and I was on her scooter using her phone trying to get it to work. About 10 minutes of me messing with it to no avail. This homeless man runs over with, what he told us later, 2 cases of stolen soda. He told us that we were dumb tourists and gave me your phone and I'll fix it. I figured why not, and let him use the phones. He said we were dumb tourists again and that we never put the payment type in for my wife's phone. I just joked with him and said, yeah, we are from the country and have never used this stuff before. He said he is so much smarter than me and my wife, and that he was practically a genius. My wife shot back that he was just street smart, and she was a lot more book smart than he was. I just laughed it off and told him, yes, you're a genius. Can I have my phone back? And he gave it back and ran off, yelling he was going to sell his stolen sodas for free food. My wife brought it up 4 days later, saying she was mad I did not defend her from the crazy homeless man, and I'm a coward for not fighting with him over the fact that he called her dumb. We have had a huge fight because, from my point of view, yeah, he was rude. But it was more funny the fact we couldn't get the scooters to work and a random homeless person told us we were dummies and showed us how to do it. It's not worth it to fight a homeless person because they are rude. Her point of view is I should have defended her from the homeless person and have gotten into a fight to do so. Am I wrong here? Edit. It seems like I was not very clear, and I have seen a lot of comments thinking my wife wanted me to attack the homeless man. She was not necessarily wanting me to attack him, but to get into a verbal argument fight, which I believe could become a physical fight, with him because he called us dumb. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My wife replied that he was just street smart and she was a lot more book smart than he was. If one thing is obvious, yes, your wife is not street smart and not even book smart. Your wife legitimately wanted you to get into a street fight with a homeless dude? What if he pulled out a knife and stabbed you, all for what, because she felt slighted by his words? Sorry, but your wife is an idiot. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. What if the guy pulls out a knife? Sounds like, out of the 3 of you, you are by far the smartest. No need to put your life in danger for stuff like that. Man, show your wife this post to bring her back to reality. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a month since the incident with the homeless man and the electric scooters, and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening. After our fight, my wife and I had a long talk about the situation. I explained to her that I didn't think it was worth getting into a verbal argument with a homeless person, especially one who had just helped us out. She eventually understood my perspective, but it was clear that the incident had brought up some deeper issues in our relationship. Over the next few weeks, we started to notice a pattern in our interactions. My wife would often get upset with me for not standing up for her in various situations, whether it was with a rude cashier or a pushy salesperson. I realized that I had a tendency to avoid confrontation, even when it meant not defending my wife. One day, we were out shopping when a store employee made a snide comment about my wife's appearance. I could see the hurt in her eyes, but instead of saying something, I just grabbed her hand and walked out of the store. Later that night, she broke down in tears, telling me how much it hurt her when I didn't stand up for her. That moment was a wake-up call for me. I realized that my fear of confrontation was causing my wife to feel unsupported and alone. I knew I needed to make a change, but I wasn't sure how. A few days later, I decided to take a risk and sign up for an assertiveness training course. It was a big step for me, as I had always been a shy and introverted person, but I knew that if I wanted to be a better husband, I needed to learn how to speak up for myself and my wife. The course was challenging, but it was also incredibly rewarding. I learned how to communicate my needs and boundaries in a clear and respectful way, without resorting to aggression or confrontation. I also learned how to support my wife in difficult situations, whether it was by speaking up on her behalf or simply holding her hand and showing her that I was there for her. As I started to put these new skills into practice, I could see a noticeable change in our relationship. My wife seemed happier and more confident, knowing that she had a partner who was willing to stand up for her. And I felt more empowered and self-assured, knowing that I could handle difficult situations without losing my cool. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were times when I slipped back into my old habits of avoidance and passivity. But with my wife's support and encouragement, I was able to keep pushing forward. Looking back, I realized that the incident with the homeless man was a turning point in our relationship. It forced us to confront some deep-seated issues and work together to find a solution. And while it was a difficult and sometimes painful process, I'm grateful for the growth and strengthening of our bond that came out of it. So that's where things stand now. We're still working on our communication and assertiveness skills, but we're in a much better place than we were a month ago. And I'm hopeful that with continued effort and commitment, we'll be able to build an even stronger and more supportive partnership in the years to come. Thanks for reading, everyone. Your support and advice have meant the world to us. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.